Good morning. So I thought I'd take everyone back, like
You can talk about it.
way back to the beginnings of FiftyThree. So this is a photograph outside of a dusty window. This was our apartment where my co-founder Julian and I were sitting and developing our first application called Paper. And when you look in the far top right corner, you actually see the World Trade Center peeking just out above the other buildings. And that was very significant for us, because that, for us, is a symbol of creation and creativity, of really, even in face of defeat, just keeping building and building and building and making things. So at that point, we said, is like, you know what? They were building that building. We're going to build our company. Let's see who's going to be done first. It turns out we underestimated how difficult real estate and construction in New York City is. So we've been doing pretty good on that clip. But if you don't know, the World Trade Center site was designed by an architect called Daniel Liebeskind. He's a huge inspiration to us, and as we were building our first product called Paper, he's been, of course, going around the world and building more sites. And so a few weeks ago, Apple had a worldwide developer conference where they actually opened the show with a quote from Daniel Liebeskind, which I'd love to play for you now.
You can talk about a project, you can articulate it rationally, but you cannot communicate architectural ideas without a drawing. I use an app called Paper by FiftyThree. It really provides a sense of freedom, a sense of being emancipated from technology. It allows you to communicate as if directly from your heart, from your soul. It's just part of you. And I think that magic is part of the app world.
So you can imagine sitting in the audience, seeing then your idol essentially talk about the product you had started building 2.5 years prior, and speaking about that. For him, this is the representation. It's the emancipation of technology. It is a product that lets him communicate straight from the heart, straight from the soul. What Daniel is speaking about here is the creative process and the perils of the creative process, and where to really begin, how to start, how to develop the conviction to get started, express your ideas, and trust that something comes out at the end of that journey. Creative process begins, this is kind of our simplification of the creative process. It begins in this really chaotic state. It has to be that way. You have to make new connections. You have to combine a part familiar with a part new. You have to be out there searching, speaking with people, connecting. But at some point, you'll hunker down. Some point, you'll be like, okay, that's it. This is the chart we're going to go on, and then you shift into productivity mode, right? You'll choose other applications, maybe like Word to hash out an agreement, or AutoCAD if you want to develop an architecture diagram, or your CRM system because you've made plenty of sales at CE Week. This is the process we all share. You start with very, very, very murky ideas, you work through them, you need very flexible tools to work through that initial phase, and then you go out and deliver, right? The creative process, it's something that connects us all, that's really connects us all in our humanity. For us at FiftyThree, we love building tools for that process, for the creative process. We want to build tools that you want to keep within arm's length. The average arm's length is 53 centimeters. That's the space between head, heart, and blank canvas. That's the space where creation happens. Everyone has their 53. Everyone has the need to create, and we want to build some of the best tools for that process. Our first product is Paper. If you haven't seen it, Paper, you can loosely think of a digital notebook, a notebook where you can quickly sketch, ideate, capture your ideas. Think of it as a as a whiteboard on the go. Your pages are organized in notebooks, and we spend a lot of time building specific drawing tools that anyone can use to get their ideas out. So there are tools like drawing in there for calligraphic work, or sketching if you have to develop a form, color if you want to really start highlighting an illustration. It's a super simple and easy to use application. We've gone on to win a number of design awards, from Apple's App of the Year to Industrial Design Awards, Interaction Design Awards, Brand Design Awards, and what the reviewers and the award ceremonies would say over and over and over, that this is an extremely intuitive and simple to use application. It made creation accessible to so many on iPad. And for us, probably one of the biggest joys of creating this product is seeing what everyone is making with it. Like so far, and this is somewhat outdated, but over 120 million pages have been now created in Paper. From everyone like star architects to kids who just love drawing the solar system. Here's just a selection of some illustrations. People have used it in business settings to sketch out like the intersection of geography and business development, to, of course, garden plans, to entrepreneurial ideas around technology. And one thing that we really enjoy is seeing it's used in education, right? That's a really, really big area. So here's actually a sketch from Brad Orvenel. He's a distinguished educator who's been teaching his students how to sketch in classrooms, because he believes that we can look up so much information today, and the future leaders really have to synthesize that information, and doing that in a sketch is an extremely powerful way. So we love educators like Brad who are out there and really thinking about new skills to develop students so that they can actually communicate and express their ideas better. So I thought I'd take a little peek behind the curtain of how do we really build these tools? How do we go about building for creativity? How do we make it work for everyone? And it begins with tools. And if you've ever used a creative application, before paper, most apps would inundate you with settings, right? Rather than just getting in there and picking up a simple pencil, you'd have to adjust lots of different settings. You have to adjust line weight, grayscales, opacity, sliders. It's a really complicated thing when all you really want to do is just sketch, right? That's the core activity. And so we decided to take out and use all the advances of technology to simplify the act of sketching and just making that as natural as using a pencil. So within paper, there are a number of tools. There's a draw tool, sketch tool, outline tool, write tool, and my favorite is actually the color tool, because that we based on watercolor, which is something that's extremely hard to do. I always failed at that. In fact, I never made it beyond the brown puddle page. As much color I tried to put onto the page, it always would converge to the same mess. And then, this is my co-founder Andrew Allen's work, right? So he just sits there with his travel kit and whips out these beautiful, beautiful illustrations. So I said, you know what, Andrew, let's figure this out. How can we actually make watercolor easier for everyone? And so he says, no problem, I'll show you how. Right? So he would sit down, whip out his pen, his like traveling kit, and be like, what I like about watercolor is the fact that you can have like a hard line, and if you move faster, you can blend colors. And and then he just goes to town. And I sit there, I was like, wow, that's really hard. However, we can use some algorithms, right, to make that easier, and some technology to make that easier for everyone. So we started studying really how do you algorithmically express watercolor. And then we start tweaking that product over and over, and this goes on for months. Like we develop algorithms and tweak parameters to just get the look right. Here you're seeing just tons of iterations. So this one, that looked kind of good. This one will look a little bit too hard. So we would change and rewrite the algorithms again. Next version, this one was too blotchy. This version had a good feel. This one probably falls off too quickly. It's a constant process between the design and engineering team really figuring out what is the right aesthetic. Instead of asking our customers to fiddle around with settings, we do all that work. We figure this out and to really understand what is a really great aesthetic choice that makes essentially watercolor accessible to everyone. Yeah, it's a long process, but in the end, the end result is that now we can say, and we've seen it, that a lot of people who think they're not creative, they can pick up this tool and just start drawing and sketching and painting and coloring. Similarly so, right? So that's sort of what's happening on the software side for paper. And when you look at what is really the tool that you need to hold in your hand, because we have hands. I mean, touch is great, but look, we have an entire hand. We're evolved species that can manipulate tools. And when our hardware team was looking at, well, what should kind of the analog tool be that you're using, right? They actually started with a very different question. They started with the question of, well, what should drawing and sketching and writing be like in 2 to 5 years, right? And there's a broad range of choices you could do here. Should it be a ballpoint pen? Should it be a paintbrush? What should that look like? And for John Harris on the industrial design team, I mean, he then found inspiration in 2 really almost opposing tools, and that's kind of the brilliance with him, right? He looked at the hori-hori knife, which is a gardening knife in Japan. If you haven't seen it, it's a really fascinating tool because you can use it to like dig holes, you can use it to cut, you can use it to splice. It's a very versatile and well-loved tool because it gets into the Zen state of gardening. And on the other hand, he had looked at an expressive tool like charcoal. And when you put sort of these, and what's exciting about charcoal is it's messy. It's you can sculpt the charcoal bit to really shape your form and express it in so many ways. It almost allows for that aha moment when a child finds out that you can unwrap a Crayola and use it in every way you want to. That's true empowerment, right? That's when you realize, like, you know what, I can let my ideas I just made this tool do what I want to express, right? So these two very opposing tools, we ended up putting together in pencil. It comes together in the form of a carpenter's pencil. It's extremely approachable form, and why don't we show you what are some of the things you can do with it? So this is the moment we live, and this is the moment we work for, right? When someone is in the flow, have a tool that allows it to sketch, to blend, to erase, where the person is thinking more with their hand and really shutting out the rest of the busy world, and it's just flowing. The ideas are just flowing. Pencil has been called by The Verge and Wired magazine the best iPad stylus yet. But actually, one of my favorite quotes came from the Wall Street Journal, or All Things D, where they said they were reviewing various iPad pens, but their response was like, well, out of the pens, our favorite was a pencil, because they really understood what we are trying to accomplish here, right? We believe in a future that's expressive, where people are creative and are embracing their creativity, and you need a tool that is as flexible as that. And we designed one. This is actually pencil in the graphite version, right? This, if you like more of a modern look, and it's made out of it's made out of an aluminum. My favorite is actually the walnut version. We chose some sustainable harvested walnuts from Wisconsin. Each pencil is unique, so when you hold it, you feel the craft, you feel the weight in the product. It's incredibly well made. Actually, our design team previously worked on the Xbox 360 game controllers, so some of the reviewers called our product is built like a tank, even though it's extremely beautiful to look at as well. The walnut version also has some magnets on the inside, so you can snap it to your iPad case. And it comes in incredible direct-to-consumer packaging, so if you order online, you receive it in a tube that you can keep using as well, with like a pulp on the inside and a spare eraser. And with pencil, you get then all the tools inside the paper application as well. So paper is free to download, and then there's some in-app purchases, but with pencil, you actually get all the tools inside of them. But there's more. Just like a great tool ages over time and gets better over time, right? We decided to keep working on pencil, and later this fall, we're introducing a new capability for it. So we call this capability surface pressure. And just like the Hori Hori knife, which you can use in so many different ways, pencil along with the iPad screen, you'll be able to use every edge to express your ideas better. Let me just run a quick video so you can see what's coming this fall. So what you're seeing here is actually an industry first. It's where the tool, the actual physical design of the tool and the screen meet together. And for an end, and by manipulating the tool on the screen, you actually affect what you see. And and what sounds very technical in my description is highly intuitive. Right, as you see, you see the edge of the eraser, and guess what? With that edge, you can do more fine-grained work. With the long edge of the tip, you can draw a wider stroke. Right, it really simplifies the entire process of creating on a screen, and it unlocks all the instincts and the intuition that your hand has, that your eye sees, and again, lets your ideas flow easily onto the screen. Pencil is available now. It comes in 2 SKUs. The walnut SKU is $74.95, and the graphite SKU retails for $59.95. It's available at our store at FiftyThree.com and at Amazon. And you can actually see it at the show as well. Come to booth 62, you can see it there. And one thing we'd love to speak about with media, with retailers, with influencers and everyone else is like, how can we really broaden the reach of our products? How can we bring the gift of creativity to you all? We think pencil is a phenomenal tool. We design it so that it's accessible. We really want to put a pencil in everyone's hand. We're actually not just financially motivated here. We are motivated with a deep belief that we are all related in our human creativity. We want to build tools that everyone can pick up, can use, getting the story out there through media, working with retailers, working with distributors is one of the reasons why we're here at this show. So please come to the booth, check it out, and hopefully this holiday season we can bring the gift of creativity to everyone. Thank you. Hello?
One book that's been out there for years called Pencil, Henry Petrowski. He writes everything about design and history of design and evolution of something. And the big thing for the invention of the pencil was the hexagonal shape. But that was meant, 1 for holding, 2 for manufacturing, and 3 for storage. You've been able to use so many other parameter attributes, traditional and non-traditional, attributed to the pencil. But are there some other attributes you're now exploring?
So in terms of additional tools, the shape is really inspirational for us. Actually, the shape, we chose the carpenter pencil shape because it allows to actually accommodate a lot of the internals. There's a battery on this side with a USB plug, so you can't lose a charger and just charge the battery on the inside, and it's always contained. Now, as we're looking broader around the roadmap, you'll see from 53 more and more creative tools coming, right? Pencil is, we love starting with pencil because it's such a universal tool, as you mentioned. And there are many, many more creative applications and many more modes of expression that we envision us seeing working on. Any other questions? No?
Is it going to be possible for people to download, upgrade software as it comes along to the pen?
So the question is, will it be possible to upgrade or download software to the pencil? So a lot of the inventions and innovations happen actually on the application side. So it's really where the intersection of hardware and software come together. So one thing that we're doing is continuously improving paper, and we're also starting to work with other app developers to bring support for pencil into other applications. So that's one thing that we're working on. So the question is, can you take advantage of surface pressure if you buy a pencil now? Absolutely. Surface pressure is something that will be enabled with iOS 8. So the moment iOS 8 ships, you'll get an update to paper, and every pencil out there will be able to take advantage of that capability. Sure. So the question was about another product that he didn't feature this morning, but a product called Book. So this was a collaboration between venerable notebook manufacturer Moleskine in Italy and my team in New York and Seattle, where we sat down and really looked at, once you create something, there's oftentimes a need to share it or to gift it, and we decided to really rethink through a printed version of a book in which you can actually print out all the sketches you have in paper or a selection of those sketches into a bound journal. One of the interesting things of working with a notebook or a physical paper manufacturer was thinking about how do you really remove that barrier from taking your digital file and printing it out. So we took it as a challenge to remove that barrier between the digital and the physical and working with Moleskine. And they really challenged us, and we challenged them. And the solution was very straightforward. Well, for the most of the time, we've been printing to legacy paper formats. We've been printing to like 8.5 by 11 or A4, and it turns out no screen is 8.5 by 11 or A4. So what we decided to do is actually develop a new journal format that matches the aspect ratio of our digital screens, thereby removing settings like margins, various layouts, and a lot of complexities in the print process. And so with Book, you have a simple button, a single button you can press. You choose the pages you want in paper, and you'll have a handmade bound book sent to you with some of your favorite sketches. In the back.
Are you guys looking at developing any sort of like desktop version or something that can be like used or compatible with like a large screen?
So the question is, are we looking at any desktop version, or let's broaden the question and really look at, are we going to support other platforms, desktop and other operating systems? And certainly that's something that we're looking at. We have to. In a startup, you have to manage sort of your amount of focus and make sure that your core products are working really well. But we certainly are looking at other device forms and platforms to make sure that creators everywhere can use our products.
Is FiftyThree available for Android devices?
The question is FiftyThree Paper or Paper by FiftyThree available for Android? Right now we're not, but as said, it's something that we always keep in our mind and on our roadmap.
I know you were concerned when Facebook came out with their paper. Have you seen any spikes either way? How has that turned out?
Question is, so Facebook recently launched an application using the name Paper. Well, our downloads are very, very healthy, and as one of the top applications in the App Store, I think any brand recognition flows actually the other way in this case, where people have associated Paper with an extremely well-made, well-built product. Our downloads have been going very, very well, very strong. People are really enjoying our product, and I'll leave it up to you to find the other product. Great. Any more questions? With that, thank you for making the time, coming up, waking up so early, and joining FiftyThree for the session. We have some flyers where we have a coupon code for our pencil. Samina and Rachel up front will be handing those out, and of course, come by booth 62 and meet us in person. Thank you.